FBI estimates in the United States alone at any given time there are 25 to 50 active serial killers. Now, imagine across the world. In the late 70s, for 4 months, the hills of Los Angeles were littered with the bodies of women and girls aged 12 to 28. It was the work of 2 insatiable killers, though they were recognized as a single monster, the one and the same, the Hillside Strangler. The Hillside Strangler had left the bodies of some 5 young girls in the hills of LA within 30 days, and by the end of their streak they would have raped, tortured, and murdered some 10 women and girls between the ages of 12 and 28. To the horror of authorities and citizens alike, the Hillside Strangler was actually the work of 2 horrific men, cousins, Kenneth Bianchi and Angelo Buono Jr. Buono was born in Rochester, New York on October 5, 1934. His parents were Italian immigrants who divorced when he was young. When Buono was 5, he moved to Glendale, California with his mother Jenny and his sister Cecilia. He displayed a high interest in sex at a young age, and when he was a teenager, claimed to his classmates to have raped several girls. Angelo also idolized serial rapist Carl Chessman, aka the Red Light Bandit, considering him his hero, even though he believed that Chessman should have also killed his victims. Buono began stealing cars and was placed in reform school. In 1955, he married his high school sweetheart, 17-year-old Geraldine Bennell, whom he had impregnated, but left her less than a week later. Buono and Bennell's child, named Michael, was later born on January 10, 1956, but Angelo divorced Bennell and refused to pay child support for Michael. Later on, he married Mary Castillo, whom he also impregnated earlier on, and fathered a total of 5 children with her. In 1964, Angelo was believed to have raped his 2-year-old daughter Grace, although there isn't enough information from sources to elaborate upon the incident. Buono and Castillo's marriage also ended in divorce in 1964, and she claimed that he had been physically and sexually abusive. Castillo tried to reconcile with him, but after he handcuffed and threatened her at gunpoint, she abandoned her intentions. He got married a 3rd time, the following year, to a single mother named Nanette Capino, and conceived 2 children with her. On an unspecified date, Buono was arrested for stealing cars and sentenced to 1 year in prison, but due to his large family, the sentence was suspended so he could work. Capino later divorced him in 1971 like his previous 2 wives, not only because he was abusing her, but also because he had raped her daughter. The following year, Angelo married once again to a woman, Deborah Taylor, but didn't live with her. He became a car upholsterer in 1975 and was, despite his physical appearance and abusive behavior, considered very attractive to women. During that time, Buono frequently forced women to perform oral sex on him and also started dating a teenage girl whom he impregnated twice. Like his cousin Buono, Bianchi was born in Rochester, New York. He was born on May 22, 1951, almost 17 years after Buono. His mother, a 17-year-old alcoholic prostitute, gave him up for adoption when he was born. He was adopted by local residents Nicholas Bianchi and Francis Sciglione. Though his upbringing was stable, Bianchi became a pathological liar early in his childhood and spent a lot of time daydreaming. The latter was attributed to petit mal seizures when he was 5. He also had a short fuse and was diagnosed with passive-aggressive personality disorder. Kenneth also was unable to sleep and went to bed frequently as a child. And although he had an IQ of 116, he was an underachiever in school. On January 2nd, 1957, Bianchi accidentally fell off a jungle gym and landed on his face. His mother, in an attempt to change his ways, sent him to a private Catholic elementary school. In July of 1963, he pulled down a 6-year-old girl's pants, having spontaneously decided that he liked doing so. Following Nicholas's death from pneumonia in 1964, an unemotional Kenneth had to leave and attend public high school. There, he dated frequently and joined a motorcycle club. And after graduating in 71, he married his high school sweetheart, Brenda Beck, just like Buono had before him. But they divorced after 8 months, deciding that he wanted to become a police officer. Bianchi enrolled at Monroe Community College to study police science and psychology, but dropped out of college after just 1 term. He applied for a position at the sheriff's department, but was rejected. He took on a series of menial jobs, eventually becoming a security guard at a jewelry store, from which he was fired for stealing and giving the loot to his various girlfriends. The habit stuck with him through a series of jobs. In 1975, he moved to California and moved in with his cousin Angelo Buono, who taught him how to use fake police badge to extort free sex from prostitutes. The two also became pimps for a brief time until the 2 girls who worked for them, Sabra Hannon and Becky Spears, managed to escape. Kenneth applied for jobs at 2 different local police departments, but neither had any open positions. He got a job at a title company and spent his first paycheck on an apartment and a Cadillac. He moved in with Kelly Boyd, whom he had met at work. In May of 1977, she announced that she was pregnant with this child. Although she rejected his proposal for marriage, she continued to stay with Kenneth. In October of 1977, the two committed their first murder together. The victim was Yolanda Washington, a 19-year-old prostitute. Over the following 3 weeks, they killed 2 more women. The third, Lisa Caston, was a waitress working to pay for her ballet lessons. While the first 3 murders didn't attract too much attention because most of the victims were prostitutes, the duo's 4th and 5th murders, 2 middle-class girls aged 12 to 14, attracted much more attention. By the end of the year, they had killed 4 more. It was initially believed that there was a single killer whom the media nicknamed the Hillside Strangler. Even after it was suspected by the police that there were 2 killers, the name was still used in the singular. By the beginning of 1978, the pair had killed a total of 10 women together. At that point, they had stopped killing. On the night when the duo tried to abduct an 11th victim, the two got into a heated argument during which Bianchi revealed that he had been questioned in the Hillside Strangler case. A furious Buono threatened to kill him if he didn't get out of town. For whatever reason Bianchi had, he and his family moved to Bellingham, Washington in May of '78, where he got a job as a security guard. In the January of the following year, Bianchi abducted 2 female Western Washington University students, Karen Mandick and Diane Wilder, took them to a house he guarded, raped, tortured, and killed them. Fortunately, he left behind some clues this time. His car had California plates, was spotted, and he was connected to the addresses of 2 Hillside Strangler victims. The next day, January 12th, he was arrested without incident. When Bianchi's photo was broadcast in the media in Los Angeles, the investigators received a call from the lawyer named David Wood, who had helped one of the 2 girls Buono and Bianchi had pimped escape. He tipped them about Buono, who was also arrested on October 22, 1979. In anticipation of his 1981 trial, Bianchi prepared to mount an insanity plea, claiming to have a separate personality named Steve Walker, who had committed the murders. Bianchi had watched the movie Civil the night before he made the claim. He was interviewed by multiple people who specialized in multiple personalities and hypnosis, who attempted to find out whether he was truly insane or not. It was eventually determined that he was faking it. He had been inventing more alter egos since he was told that it was uncommon for there to only be one extra personality. During the trial, there was a great deal of trace evidence implicating the two. There had been fibers from Buono's upholstery workshop and home on two victims. There was an imprint of a fake police badge on his wallet, and there were hairs from rabbits he had raised on another victim. Bianchi also agreed to plead guilty and testified to his cousin's involvement, though he remained uncooperative throughout the trial. In 1983, both men were found guilty of the murders they had committed and, in spite of the cruelty of their crimes, spared the death penalty and sentenced to life in prison. Bianchi is still serving his sentence at the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla, Washington, and won't be eligible for parole again until 2025. The so-called alphabet murders were a series of murders in Rochester, New York, Buono and Bianchi's hometown, between 1971 and 1973. The victims were girls of different ethnicities, aged 10 to 11, who lived in the town and came from poor Catholic families. They were raped, strangled, and dumped in the wilderness. One thing that made the case notable was the fact that all three victims had double initials. For example, their first and last name began with the same letter, and their bodies were found in nearby areas whose names began with the same letter. The first victim, Carmen Colon 10, was found in Churchville. The second and third victims, Wanda Welkowitz 11, found in Webster, and Michelle Maenza 11, found in Macedon. They were killed in 1973. After that, the perpetrator appears to have stopped killing. There have been a few suspects, including a person of interest who killed himself 6 weeks after the murders stopped, but was cleared by DNA testing in 2007. Are these cases related? What are your thoughts? Leave them in the comments. Thank you for watching.